Three coaching moves, per se, not roster moves, but coaching moves that the Steelers have announced since the season ended. Teryl Austin, TA as the players call him, has been promoted to defensive coordinator. And Triv, I don't think this was a big surprise to anyone, especially when you hear what Micah Fitzpatrick and the players said about him.
Yeah, he's done it before. He's well known around the league and respected around the league. In-house guy. I got no problem with that whatsoever. I think it's going to be interesting to see what kind of impact he can have on a defense that has done it the same way for a while now, and maybe a little adjusting, a little bit of a different approach would be a good thing if he goes that way. I'm not sure what the Teryl Austin Bible is, or what he believes in, but I think we'll have more of a chance for him to be who he is because his role has been enhanced.
Yeah, and I was going to say, in terms of, you look at Teryl Austin and how he's ultimately helped this secondary continue to grow. Micah Fitzpatrick, Cam Sutton, even Mike Hill to an extent. All of these guys under TA have developed, have went on to show that, hey, man, this guy is getting the best out of them. He's a developer of talent. So for me, if you're keeping him and you're promoting him, I'm all for that, because we've already seen the impact that he's had directly on this team. And he is a guy that's coming over with experience as well, being a previous DC at two other organizations.
Tremendous points by both of you gentlemen, as usual. I will just throw in the little bit of kibitz there, where everything I've heard about Coach Austin is the fact that he respects the players and gives them input to those who are capable of doing the Micahs and so forth. And I think that says something about the man himself when you go and reach out to some of the players that you have such confidence in and take some of their input, what they're talking about. I think that says a lot about that type of guy. Yeah, I like him a lot.
All right, the Steelers have a new wide receivers coach, Frisman Jackson, who is most recently with the Carolina Panthers. And Triv, that is a group, the wide receiver group, that could look a lot different than what we have seen in the previous few years as we head into the free agency portion of this year.
Yeah, it might, and even if there are carryovers, and we assume there's going to be at least a couple, more consistency, I think, is what's needed at that position, particularly when you look at Chase Claypool, who did not have the impact scoring touchdowns in year two that he did in year one. And I personally don't think his play was as consistent either. I think Chase Claypool can be a monster guy in this league. I think he can be a huge part of the success of the offense moving forward, but they got to get him locked in a little more, get him making plays more consistently that, to me, there's no reason he shouldn't be able to make.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I share that same sentiment. And when you think about Coach Frisman, I look at what he was able to do in Carolina with two receivers that are very talented, but at the same time are young in terms of DJ Moore and oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on his another receiver's name. But with both of those guys down there,
my world, buddy.
But with both of those guys down there, though, you think about that, right? Young talent, Robbie Anderson, that was his name. But with both of those guys down there, right? Talented, young. And he was able to develop both of those guys into being 1,000-yard receivers at the same time. When I think of what we have here in Pittsburgh, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, why can't we have that exact same thing? Because both of those guys are talented enough. Deontay coming off a Pro Bowl season. We know Chase has all the tools to be a Pro Bowl receiver as well. So for me, I'm hoping that Frisman can go ahead and strike lightning in a bottle twice and ultimately get those guys elevated to playing at their full potential, because they are too good to not be feared league-wide just yet.
There's no question that both those gentlemen that you're talking about, they have such exceptional talent. And the fact of the matter is, like Mike was talking about, Chase Claypool is just a monster in the making. I mean, he's there. All the elements are there. Now, who's going to put it together and get that going? I mean, it's got to come from within, but there's also the coaching eye that sometimes a fresh eye gives a little more insight and a little more motivation at certain points in time. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out. We know what Deontay is. We know the great abilities he's got. But Chase Claypool, to me, is just one of those guys that has just got some talent that just could be out of this world if they can plug into it correctly.
All right, and the last coaching move to mention as we sit here today on Thursday, the Steelers hired a new offensive line coach, Pat Meyer, also recently, most recently with the Carolina Panthers. And Wolf, I'll turn to you. We know this is going to be another young group again. Who knows if they'll bring in some veteran guys from free agency. But what is the biggest thing you need to see from this offensive line unit as they hopefully take the next step and grow in 2022?
The biggest thing is taking the next step, just like you talk about. It's going to be getting back together with a healthy Kevin Dotson. It's going to be able to make sure that you've got a Kendrick Green. And I still believe, and I know at the end of last year, I talked a little bit, Kendrick could play guard. Now, you know what? I watched tape. I got nothing to do. All right. The kids chasing around the dog and everything else. So I'm watching tape of Kendrick Green over and over. And I got to tell you something. This kid, I still believe, can be exceptional there. And I know there's some people that, whatever, you know, he might, but I'm telling you what, this kid has got all the elements that make centers great. And one thing that he's got that you don't see in modern day centers anymore, virtually, except for guys like Maurkice Pouncey, is that fierceness and intensity and physicality that he plays with. I dare you, go watch a little bit of the Ravens tape and watch Kendrick Green take the 350-pound cheese whopper of Brandon Williams off the ball 5 yards by himself backwards. That's a man-sized task. Watch him up with Vernon Butler up in Buffalo when he just crumples Vernon, all 6'4", 330 pounds of him, and just bends him over backwards, pretty near breaking his back. I mean, gadzooks. Those are special things. He's got to come back. He's got to refine his technique. You've got to get the people massed around him, and you move forward. But I think you got to stay with this guy because I think he's the first foundational stone in the ground that you can build that line on.
Wolf, I'll give you one more. Think back to the Chargers game, the tying touchdown, the sideways pass to Pat Freiermuth. He catches it about 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and you got 51 Trey Turner stopping it from the inside, right. And then Okorafor and Green both got down the field and got great blocks. Green was down at the goal line. All Freiermuth had to do was turn and walk into the end zone. He's not only got what you talked about, but he's got the mobility and the athleticism to get to the second level. I think there's a lot there at center still.
Well, and just quickly, you brought up. Sorry, Arthur, go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Well, I was going to say all of these things that y'all both have brought up are what made him an exciting prospect coming out of Illinois. But the issue is right now is consistency, because all of these things are great. But when you're doing them once and you have a couple of bad plays, you kind of forget about that. So for me, when I think of Pat, in terms of Pat Meyer, I say to myself, man, he is a guy that is going to have to demand that consistency. Because, yes, when you cut the tape on with Kendrick, it flashes. You see certain things that are special. But you have to have that all the time, or 85, 90% of the time. It can't be the alternative where it's this up and down roller coaster, because it's hard to just trust that and ultimately formulate plans around that. But if Pat Meyer can get that consistency out of him, man, you're right. This is a guy that could be really, really good for us long term.
Remember this, Dermontti Dawson didn't play center his rookie year. Mike Webster only played part-time. I'm just saying it can take a little bit of time, and you're right. If Meyer can come out and get this out of him, man, oh man, we're gonna have a good offensive line, I believe.
And that'll be important, because if they listen to me and get Malik Willis in here, you're gonna want to support that rookie quarterback every possible way that you can.
Mason or.
All right, just one more quick note on Kendrick Green. You were talking about Maurkice Pouncey and all of the great centers that have come from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Wolf. And, you know, he was working out, Kendrick Green, with Maurkice Pouncey just a week or so ago. They posted about it. So, you know, this is somebody who gave him, permission, we could say, to take the number 53. Now maybe pulling him in after his rookie year and helping do whatever he can to help him. So I'll say arrow pointed up, as Prisuta said, as we sit here today. I reserve my right to change my mind as well. So
I'll only say this: when you finish a year like Kendrick did, and by the way, it was still a good year, very good year. You go see the master, okay? You see a guy who has excelled in your position, and I love the fact that he's aggressive enough. He's only, gadzooks, a couple of weeks out of the season. You go to the master, and you start to work on your craft already. I like that.
All right, guys. Well, I like conversating with everybody and talking a little Steelers football, even though it is not as exciting as the regular season. But thanks so much for joining me here today on Steelers Live, and thanks to everybody watching at home. We will see everyone next time. Have a great evening, everybody.